All right, well, we are on extension 3.2, so it's an extension. It's just a little bit added on to 3.2. It's on page 91 of your textbook. And this is called factoring an expression. It's actually the opposite of doing the distributive property. So remember, in the distributive property, all the way down here would have been like 6 is right outside the parentheses. That means 6 times 4x, 6 times negative 3, where you distribute this to each thing out that's on inside the parentheses. The factoring of an expression means you're dividing each of these by something. So really, what you do is you find the GCF, or greatest common factor. That means what's the biggest thing, the biggest number you can divide each of these by. So find the greatest common factor of 24x and 18 by writing their prime factorization. So this is one way to do it. You can say 24x is really 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times x, doing the prime factorization. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. Then you look for any they have in common. They share a 2, they share a 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Another way to do it would be to look at 24x and look at negative 18 and say, well, what's something I could divide both of those by? 6 being the greatest thing you could divide each of these by. So what you do is you divide each number by 6, and you take that 6 and you put it right outside the parentheses, like right here. And then when you divide 24x by 6, you're left with 4x. When you divide negative 18 by 6, you're left with negative 3. An easy way to double check this to make sure you're doing it correctly, now use the distributive property. 6 times 4x gets you back to 24x. 6 times negative 3 gets you back to negative 18. So if you do the distributive property, it should bring you back to the original. That's how you know that you have factored it well. And it says you can use the distributive property to factor out any rational number from an expression. Okay? So then it says you can factor out a fraction. Now this book is pretty nice to you, where they will have you, when they factor out a fraction, they do make it a pretty easy problem. So we're going to factor 1/2 out of 1/2 x plus 3 halves. So you write each term as a product of 1/2 and another factor. 1/2 x is 1/2 times x. 3 halves is 1/2 times 3. Another way to look at this is if I divide this by 1/2 and I divide this by 1/2, what will I be left with? And when you divide 1/2 out of each of those, you'll be left with x for the first one. 1/2 x divided by 1/2 is just x. And 3 halves divided by 1/2 is 3. So when you're all done, you have a 1/2 pulled out front. You factored the 1/2 out, and you're left with x plus 3. To check, you'll do the distributive property. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times 3 is 3 halves. So yep, we've done it right, because when we do the distributive property here, we get back to the original expression. To factor out a negative number, same way. So to factor a negative 2 out of negative 4p plus 10, you just divide each of these by negative 2. Negative 4p divided by negative 2. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so 2p. Positive 10 divided by negative 2. Positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So when we factor this negative 2 out, we were left with 2p minus 5. To double check, we use the distributive property. Negative 2 times 2p is negative 4p. Different sign, so it's negative. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. Same sign, positive. So we got back to the original expression, so we did factor out the negative 2 correctly. There aren't any on your own problems, but you will give these a try. And now that you're done with those problems, you can head over and do journal page 51 and 52, which is for the extension 3.2. See you!